In this video, we're going to be covering some tips for the MPT portion of your exam, or the Multistate Performance Test. So first things first, I want to start by saying that so many people are resistant to the MPT, and it's so unfortunate. In my opinion, the MPT is a gem. It's a whole bunch of points waiting to be discovered if you take it seriously from the beginning of bar prep. And this is because the MPT portion is worth 20% of your total uniform bar examination score. That is the equivalent of 70 multiple choice questions. But the great part about the MPT is that you don't have to know any outside law or any substantive law. Instead, the MPT is a closed universe task. They provide you with all of the relevant facts and the law that you need to complete the assigned task. So your job while preparing for the MPT is practicing and making sure you're familiar with these different types of MPTs and that you can accomplish these tasks within the allotted time. If you can do that, you will realize these points that are available to you, and it creates an excellent point cushion for the other portions of your bar exam. So let's dive into some tips that I'm sure will help you while you prepare. So first, as I just mentioned, start early. Please don't fall into the trap of putting off your MPT practice to the tail end of bar prep. So many people approach bar prep, and specifically the MPTs, with this false sense of security that they're going to do just fine. And while some people may do just fine, there's a huge subsection of people that struggle with timed exams or have little to no legal experience, or English may be their second language. If you fall into any of those types of categories, you most certainly should start your MPT practice earlier. You're going to find that it is a challenging portion of your exam, and you are very happy that you started sooner rather than later, because you'll be giving yourself that extra time to practice and to prepare. Our second tip is get in the habit of following your MPT directions, and get in this habit early on. Getting in this habit and doing it on exam day is something that will award you points in the long run. What we recommend you do is you read that task memo, which is the first document found in the file portion of your MPT, and that you come back and you refer to that task memo as much or as many times as you need to. And this is because they often give you specific instructions about what to talk about or what not to talk about in your MPT. And they oftentimes even provide you with formatting instructions. So a huge portion of their grading of your MPT is, can you follow directions? This is something that I know you're all capable of doing, so get in the habit of really focusing on that task memo and coming back and referring to it as many times as you need to make sure you're doing exactly what they ask. I recommend referring to it multiple times throughout any MPT practice session. You really want to get in the habit of structuring your response directly around those instructions. Our third tip for MPTs is to have a good approach. This comes with practice, of course. You need to find an approach that works for you, that allows you to get these tasks done in a competent way within the time constraints. If you don't have an approach, we recommend that you take ours. See if it works for you. So what is our approach? Well, we recommend that you start by reading that task memo, which again is that first document in your file. Then you're going to skip over all of the rest of the documents in your file, and you're going to go to the library. We recommend that you start formatting your task in a very basic way in your computer screen. This way, while you're reading through the library, you can be taking notes in the pertinent place on your computer screen. This way, you're moving information around less than you would otherwise be if you didn't start formatting your task early on. Then once you get done reading that library and you're taking notes along the way, you head back over to that file and you finish reading those relevant documents. The reason we recommend you read that file portion after you read the library is this way you'll save time and you'll work more efficiently, because by reading that library first and then the file, you will know what facts are important and what types of facts you're trying to compare or to contrast. Now, if you read that file first, you're really not going to know what is relevant or what's important. And you'll ultimately end up having to come back to that file and likely having to reread it, which is just a time waster. Also, as I've mentioned now a few times, you should get in the habit of reading and working simultaneously. And ideally, if you're taking the MPT under usual timed constraints, you have 90 minutes per task. So this means you should be allocating about 45 minutes to working and reading, and then you'll have that remaining 45 minutes to complete the task and to make it polished. Our fourth tip for the MPT is you should figure out how to answer questions that ask you to write persuasive briefs and objective memos. This is because persuasive briefs and objective memos are the most highly tested tasks on the MPT portion of your exam. In other words, statistically, you're likely to see at least one of these types of tasks on your bar exam. So you might as well know exactly how to handle them, and you might as well know exactly how to respond to this type of task. Not only will this improve your chances of success on the bar, but it's also going to make you feel very confident that you've practiced these highly tested tasks, and therefore on bar exam day, you can have that sense of confidence when you open up your exam booklet. Our fifth tip is you should also memorize those highly tested task formats. So sometimes on the MPT, specifically in that task memo, they'll often instruct you to read another document that gives you further formatting instructions. If that is the case, you should simply follow those formatting instructions provided. Remember, in large part, the MPT is a task in following directions. But not always do they provide you with these extra formatting instructions. Sometimes they assign you a task and they simply assume you know how to format such a task. So this is why you want to memorize those highly tested task formats. You want to be able to very confidently and competently show those graders that you know what these types of tasks look like in real life. And not only that, you'll feel more confident on bar exam day. So if you're wondering what those highly tested MPT tasks are, they're the objective memo, the persuasive brief, demand letters, and opinion letters. Again, you should be familiar with what those formats look like, have them memorized. Our sixth tip is don't shy away from odd MPT tasks. Some people call these wildcard tasks. They're the same thing. It's not uncommon for the National Conference of Bar Examiners, the people who write our MPT, to ask you to craft a task that is not one of those highly tested tasks. In other words, that's not a memo, that's not a brief, that's not a letter. In the past, they've even asked examinees to draft provisions of a contract or of a complaint, for instance. Usually, though, when they ask you to complete an odd task or a wildcard task, they provide you with extra formatting guidance. So I often like odd tasks. I don't think they're that bad because they give you extra help. But what scares a lot of people is that these are odd tasks, and oftentimes people don't practice these during bar prep. So when they get one of these odd tasks on bar exam day, it stresses them out and they lose time worrying about how to move forward. So we recommend while you're prepping for the bar, get these out of the way. Expose yourself to some of these odd tasks. So again, you can walk into the bar exam knowing that you've done this before and you can have that sense of confidence. And then our final tip is you should get in the habit of practice timing yourselves. Every single bar exam administration, we unfortunately talk to examinees who fail the MPT portion and oftentimes the bar exam because they struggle with timing. And they oftentimes tell us they wish they would have started timed practice earlier. The good news is this is a mistake that you can avoid. So start MPT practice early and start timing yourself early. Remember, in large part, the MPT is testing your ability to follow directions and to complete the task within those time constraints provided. So if you can't complete this within those time parameters, your score is likely going to reflect that. And again, this is avoidable through timed practice. So you don't have to start running a marathon on the first day of practice. And what I mean by that is start small here with the MPT and work your way up to a full-timed MPT and then build on it from there. Then work on doing a second MPT back to back. This way you're simulating what exam day will feel like and look like so that again, you can walk into the bar exam feeling confident that you can handle this portion of your bar exam. We hope you found these MPT tips helpful.